Hi everyone, it's Highlights from Ukraine podcast, your daily audio summary of the latest news reported in the Ukrainian media. This week marks 1 year since the start of the full-fledged Russian invasion of Ukraine, launched in an effort to destroy its freedom and independence. To talk about life in Ukraine in times of war, we invite you to join a special Zoom meeting this Saturday, February 25th at 9 p.m. Kyiv time. I will be glad to meet you and answer all your questions regarding Ukraine, war, and the podcast. Details are in the notes to this episode. My name is Artem, and here is the news. For 365 days, Ukraine stands strong against the forces of the Russian invasion. The UN General Assembly approved a draft resolution that incorporates key provisions of the peace formula proposed by Ukraine in the autumn of 2022, a 10-point plan designed to end Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine, reports European Pravda. 141 UN member states voted in favor of the resolution, and other 39 abstained from voting, including Iran, Kazakhstan, and China. 7 countries opposed it: Belarus, North Korea, Eritrea, Mali, Nicaragua, Russia, and Syria. Among other things, just like the peace formula, the resolution demands that the Russian Federation immediately, completely and unconditionally withdraw all its armed forces from the territory of Ukraine within its internationally recognized borders. It also calls for the proper treatment of prisoners of war, full compliance with international humanitarian law, and an immediate end to attacks on critical infrastructure of Ukraine. It specifically mentions the need to ensure accountability for the most serious crimes under international law committed on the territory of Ukraine through appropriate, fair, and independent investigations and prosecutions at the international and national levels. At the same time, the UN General Assembly rejected 2 amendments proposed by Belarus that aimed to water down the resolution. One of them called for an end to military assistance to Ukraine. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky thanked all the countries that endorsed the crucial UN General Assembly resolution. The Chinese Ministry of Foreign Affairs has published a so-called peace plan with its ideas for the settlement of Russia's war against Ukraine, reports Ukrainska Pravda. The document, called China's Position on the Political Settlement of the Crisis in Ukraine, consists of 12 points: respect for the sovereignty of all countries, rejection of the Cold War mentality, cessation of hostilities, resumption of peace talks, solving the humanitarian crisis, protection of the civilian population and prisoners of war, ensuring the safety of nuclear power plants, reduction of strategic risks, promotion of grain export, termination of unilateral sanctions, maintaining the stability of industrial and supply chains, promotion of post-war reconstruction. Beijing believes that it is important to support direct dialogue between Moscow and Kyiv, a gradual reduction in the tensions of the situation, and the complete cessation of hostilities. In addition, according to China, unilateral sanctions not approved by the UN Security Council and maximum pressure cannot solve the problem, they only create new problems. The document of People's Republic of China also states that the use of nuclear weapons is unacceptable. Earlier, the Chinese Foreign Ministry accused Ukraine of smuggling weapons supplied by the United States into the hands of criminal groups in Europe and other regions, reports Espresso. The Ukrainian Foreign Ministry denied such allegations. The President of Ukraine, Volodymyr Zelensky, informed in his evening video address that he held a meeting of the staff yesterday. They discussed the current situation on the front line. The most difficult situation is in the east of Ukraine. Separately, they addressed the issue of production and supply of ammunition and weapons. Zelensky said that he, of course, cannot publicly disclose the details, but stressed that even in current conditions, Ukraine has the appropriate potential. The president also informed that another Russian strike damaged the main pipeline that provided central heating to about 600 houses in Kherson. That is more than 40,000 people. Repair work will continue without pause until the heating supply is restored, stressed Zelensky. The US plans to announce a $2 billion aid package for Ukraine on the anniversary of the Russian invasion, February 24th, reports Ukrainska Pravda. According to the CNN sources, the list of support will include HIMARS rocket launcher systems, artillery ammunition, several types of unmanned aerial vehicles, demining equipment, secure communication equipment, preparation and maintenance. This time, the US government will send weapons to Ukraine from the warehouses of the US Army and will order their production from American companies. The media stressed that while this aid may take much longer to arrive in Ukraine, it also signals a long-term commitment to help Kyiv. Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez visited Ukraine yesterday, reports Interfax Ukraine. Sanchez visited Bucha and Irpin in the Kyiv region that were liberated from the Russian occupation last spring. There, the Spanish Prime Minister said that Russia will not be able to win this war and that all of Spain is with Ukraine. He also met President Volodymyr Zelensky. Sanchez confirmed that Spain will provide 6 Leopard 2 A4 tanks to Ukraine and plans in the coming weeks and months to raise this figure to 10. He informed that Madrid is promoting the idea of joint purchases of ammunition for Ukraine as much as possible. Spain also plans to continue the treatment and rehabilitation of Ukrainian citizens who suffered in the war, and will offer training for Ukrainian doctors in modern prosthetics. The President of Ukraine noted as very important assistance in the treatment and rehabilitation of Ukrainian soldiers. Finland announced plans to give Ukraine 3 Leopard 2 tanks for demining territories as part of a new package of military assistance, reports Suspilne. According to the Ministry of Defense, the Finnish support in tanks cannot be large as the Leopards are important for Finland's own defense. The tanks will be sent as part of the 13th package of defense support to Ukraine, with total amount of 160 million euros. In turn, Swedish Defense Minister Paul Jonsson also announced his country's openness to send some of its Leopard 2 tanks to Ukraine. According to him, Sweden is currently in close contact with Germany, the manufacturer of Leopard 2 tanks, over the issue of sending them to Ukraine. Based on the needs of the government of Ukraine, the G7 countries have increased their obligations for the budgetary and economic support to the country in 2023 to $39 billion, reports Interfax Ukraine. According to the joint statement by the finance ministers and heads of the central banks of the G7 countries on the anniversary of the Russian military aggression against Ukraine, the significant commitments and their swift disbursement give Ukraine certainty and enable the authorities to safeguard the functioning of government, continue the delivery of basic services, carry out the most critical repairs of damaged infrastructure, and stabilize the economy. Health Minister of Ukraine Viktor Leshko informed that some 106 medical workers were killed over a year since the beginning of Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine. 33 of them lost their lives while on duty in hospitals, reports Ukrinform. He also said that 1,106 healthcare facilities were damaged since the beginning of the war. Of them, 174 cannot be restored and need to be built anew. Leshko also said that the public health infrastructure was most affected by the Russian aggression in Lugansk, Donetsk, Kharkiv, Chernihiv and Kyiv regions. According to him, despite the active hostilities, the restoration process at the healthcare facilities damaged by the aggressor is underway. We call on you to demand from governments of your countries to impose the toughest sanctions possible on Russia and its citizens to stop their invasion of Ukraine.